Hello, welcome. I'm back with more of this. Not even 10 seconds in, and my phone went off. I swear I don't usually get notifications. It's just the weather telling me it's gonna rain. Like, Lord have mercy. Anyway, welcome back. So like a smart person, I totally forgot to paste the flag onto this one until like the very last second. But this one's the trans flag. If you don't know, I'm making character designs with pride flags as the color palettes. I'm doing this really out of order. The original concept was like magical girl themed stuff. This video does not look like it at all. I kind of went a little off script with these, but you know, it's fine. So, this is the trans flag. This is the one that actually made me want to do this as a series to begin with. So basically, because all I do is design characters, I have a lot of dreams about designing characters, or at least dreams where I make characters in them. And this was a design that I saw in a dream once, and so I very quickly, like, sketched it out in my memos when I woke up so I wouldn't forget it. And then I was like, oh, this is just pink, blue, and white. And then I was like, oh, I should do this, like, with other pride flags. So here I am with this one. I don't know why this took as long as it did. This is the only one where I already knew what the outfit was gonna look like before I even did it. And somehow it took me forever. This, like, all three of these took me like 2.5 hours. Like, these took so long for no reason. But, this one was fun. It's definitely simple in comparison to the first few that I did. If you didn't see part 1, I did sexualities. I did the bisexual flag, the MLM flag, and the lesbian flag. And this one we're doing gender identities. So the first one being the trans flag, which I don't know how I managed to go as long as I did without, like, having the flag on the canvas. But I literally don't notice until I'm going to color and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So, this one was fun. For something like the trans flag, it would make sense to do something a little more, like, androgynous, so it could be interpreted as, like, a trans man or trans woman, but I liked the idea of just being totally femme. Because it would be different. And it's also kind of like, you know, is this a trans woman? Is this a trans man who hasn't medically transitioned yet? Is this a trans man who chose not to medically transition? Who knows? You can use your imagination. Do what you want. But I do like how this one came out. It's really simple, since the trans flag is, you know, pretty simple in colors. Despite me having, like, 2 stripes, like, double the amount of color. No, how am I trying to say this? There are 2 stripes that are pink and 2 that are blue. So it's like, in theory, it would make the most sense for those to be the most dominant colors, but I did not do that. In the dream, this outfit was like entirely white. The whole design was fucking white. So I rolled with it. I still have not noticed that the flag is not on the canvas. This one was pretty fun. Another reason why I wanted to do this one with so much white is because white is like my least favorite color to work with, right above pure black, or just like multiple blacks in general. Like, I hate working with white so much. So, like a smart person, I decided to challenge myself and just do the whole thing white. I did do them different whites. You can see the way that I blend colors later to get like really, really light like versions of the other colors. Oh man, doing that, I'm now. Oh yeah, there's me. That's me realizing I didn't have the flag. The fucking counter that I had on the first video. I knew it was bad. I knew that I do that thing a lot, but I didn't know it was that bad. But I was putting that, like, that's the part of the editing process that took the longest. Like, putting the whole video together. If I hadn't done the counter, I would have been done with it, like, way sooner. I'm hoping that now that I'm more conscious of it, the counter will be a lot lower, so it won't take me nearly as long. But holy shit, it was so bad. I put it in the description. It was actually, like, 206 and not 205, because while I was captioning the video, I realized that I missed one. So, 206. But here we are, coloring. You can see the off-white doesn't look as white when there's gray in the background. Like, I turned it off for a second, just then, so that I could, like, look at it and see, like, what it looked like. And because at first I was just kind of like, this doesn't really feel like white, but it definitely did once I turned off the gray background. I had already spent over 2 hours on this, despite how simple it was, so I kept the line art pretty simple, especially because it's all mostly white anyway. So I kept the line art like a really, really light desaturated purple. Like, I blended the pink and blue together. But yeah, here's the first one done. I did not come up with any names, so either future me is gonna put that in, or I'm just gonna have to see what happens. So here's the second one. As you can see, I didn't forget the flag this time. So this one's the non-binary flag. The only real, like, idea that I had for this one is that I wanted this one to look a little more villain-like, because I realized that I hadn't done anything like that yet. So, I tried to make this one look a little darker, especially since I had black and purple. Those are very typical villain colors. I didn't intend for it to be an actual villain, but I thought it would be a fun little idea for myself. Another one that I was like, this would make sense to make it more androgynous, but I decided that because the first three all had short hair, I decided to give these first two longer hair. This was a pain in the ass. Even with the brush, like, this was still really annoying to have to edit. Like, this was the simplest one out of all of them, I'm pretty sure, and it still took me just as long as all of the other ones. Also, I mentioned in the first video that they took between like 1 to 3 hours. I lied. They all took over 2 hours. I just didn't notice because one of them had been split into 2 parts, and I didn't notice. So I thought it was only I thought it was shorter than it actually was. So yeah, all of these took over 2 hours. Thankfully, which one? I don't even remember which one took 3 hours and the other one. I want to say it was the lesbian flag that took me 3 hours. Like, for something that's a flat color with like no shading, like not even self-shading, you'd think that these wouldn't take me this long, but apparently they do. I don't know. Especially because I was able to do them in one sitting, like, you'd think that they wouldn't take me that long, but apparently they did. But here's this one. I did try to keep this one a little bit more androgynous, or just, like, I knew I wasn't gonna have a skirt for this one. In my head it was originally a one-piece, but I decided not to do that. So you can actually see the line where it becomes shorts. And then this one has like a scepter type of staff as a weapon because the lesbian flag had a wand. So I decided to go for something a little bit longer for this one. I unintentionally ended up with, yeah, famous words spoken by me. I unintentionally ended up with a geometric sort of a thing. Like, it wasn't my intention to go into this with a square theme, but that's how we ended up. So that's where we are. I wasn't planning on going over every single braid like this, and I don't go over every single one, but I definitely did way more than I was intending to. I have a very bad, quote-unquote, bad habit, where, like, I just do what I think looks best, as opposed to what's practical. So, in my head, I'll be like, oh yeah, these are some tiny-ass details that nobody's gonna pay attention to, or like, this is really zoomed in and you're not gonna be able to see this, but I still focus on those details anyways. So like, even though I could have very easily just chosen not to go over the braids like that, in my head, that was the only option because I knew that would look best. So I just do it. I torture myself like that because that's all I know how to do. I'm not capable of doing things the easy way or the smart way. I do things in the way that I think makes the most sense in terms of getting the best product. Not makes the most sense in terms of will cause me the least amount of stress. So here I am blocking in colors. I'm just rambling for the other one. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm just blocking them in so I can color them easier. It's just a lot easier to put the colors down when the spaces are already filled in with something, and it makes it easier to experiment with colors because you can just change them super quickly. That's not something that I do very often because usually when I'm drawing something I already know what color everything is going to be, or I at least have an idea of what the colors are going to be. So it's very rare that I like color everything in Grayscale first. The only time I ever do stuff in Grayscale first is if I'm painting in Grayscale, but even then I still color it with the like original colors, and then I just change it to Grayscale after, paint the entire thing in Grayscale, and then go back and add the colors again. It's not about practicality here. I make shit difficult for myself because that's all I know how to do. So this one was fun. As mentioned in the last one, I tried to make it so the flag wasn't just in the design somewhere, so I was very picky about how I did the hair. I decided to do very like muted versions of the flag's colors because I just thought it would look more like a quote-unquote natural hair color. Getting that brown, blending the colors in was really nice. I was pretty happy about that. Like, I didn't know what to expect with, like, some of those colors, blending them together. I don't know what to expect. And it's not like blending paint where you get, like, a, like, legitimate result. Like, it's digital. You can only blend so much before you just start with the same colors you began with. Like, it was a nice surprise to get a brown that worked that well. So here I am adding more squares to stuff, because this is where I was like adding patterns to things. I don't know, despite how simple this one is, I am pretty satisfied with how this one came out. I feel like it works pretty well for what it is. And yeah, I feel like it's a pretty overall decent design. It definitely doesn't scream Magical Girl, but I knew that was going to happen. I can only commit so much to a bit. I make up for it with the last one. The last one is definitely like, okay, and now back to our regular scheduled programming. but I do like the squares thing that I ended up with in this one. Like, I didn't anticipate it, but it worked pretty well. And then my favorite part, coloring line art, favorite sarcastic, because I do not like coloring line art when it's flat colored like this. But I make it so tedious, especially once I got to the hair. I tried to think in terms of keeping my sanity by only inking or like coloring the line art for the yellow sections, and then the rest are kind of like a purplish gray sort of a color. Definitely worked in my favor, but I was kind of fighting for my life to make that decision, because in my head I was like, no, I can't cheat like that. It's not cheating, but to me it felt like it was. So once I start doing the hair, you can see, like, I keep doing, like, the individual sections, and then eventually I just cave and start coloring the whole thing one color. Like, I was so tired by the end of this one. I don't know how I managed to spend over 2.5 hours on this. Like, this took way too long. And something that I kind of want to, like, I guess, challenge myself with, when it comes to making videos, in like drawing things specifically for videos, is that I don't want to be too much of a perfectionist, and I do want to look for techniques that will help me get through things quicker, because dog, I can't be spending 2 hours on something this simple. But here's this one completely done. Oh, I lied. I did actually give this one a name. I had named them Geo, as in short for geometric. The other two don't have names. But here's the last one. This is the Genderfluid flag. This one was pretty fun. I decided that since I had the lesbian flag in shorts, I had to have a guy in a skirt or a dress, so to balance it out. So this one was fun. This one was very fun to mess around with. I literally just did this one today. Like, I was trying to hype myself up to doing the voiceover for hours before I finally was like, okay, let me just go ahead and do this for the love of God. So here I am. This, like, fun is definitely the best way to describe this one. I forgot to mention, I only just noticed, something fun that I did with this one is the collar of the shirt, or the top, where it only has like one button on it, but there is a button there. It is on the, which side is that? It's on the right side, which means that it is a woman's top. And I forgot to mention that with the trans flag one too, but we'll see it again towards the end. That the, like, even though I had them in a skirt, the blouse, the top, the buttons were on the left side, I believe. Right? No, they were on the right. Oh god, I always do that. The buttons are on the right side, which means that it's a men's top. So even though there's a skirt, the top is still like formatted style like a men's top. And I did the opposite with this one. You'd think I'd know my right from left by now, but apparently I still have to think about it. So here we are inking this one. This one took just as long as the other ones, despite it being more complicated, but it didn't feel like I was taking longer when I was working on this one. Like, I didn't realize how long it had been, because it felt like I was making progress a lot quicker when I was working on this one in comparison to the other ones. But it was interesting to be like, oh, it's been 2.5 hours just like the other ones. So here we are, trying to zoom through the inking. Inking is hit or miss for me. For like sometimes I can get through it really quickly, and then other times it takes me like an hour. Pretty much for all 6 of these, I want to say it was about an hour. Like I'd hit roughly the hour mark by the time I had finished inking. So sketching it and inking it took me roughly an hour for all of them. Which it shouldn't have, but it did. It doesn't usually take me that long to do stuff, but I think because I was coming up with new designs on the spot, it definitely took me longer than it usually does. Even the one that, like, I had literally had a reference to work with, it still took me just as long as the other ones. So, you may or may not have noticed, there's like, a teardrop shape, or like a raindrop shape, that I kind of have going on with this one, which, you know, it's because it's the Genderfluid flag, fluidity.
I am hilarious.
So I kept up the teardrop shape, because I liked that somehow I ended up with a shape for everybody. Unintentionally, as always, but I thought that was a fun one. So, and then the weapon being a ribbon. They feel very fluid. Ribbon dancing is very fun. So, it made sense, but it was also something a little different. So, still blocking in colors. It took me until this one to come up with the smart idea to make it so, like, everything that's in the same layer is the same value of gray. I don't know why I didn't think to do that before. Like, in the other ones, I was just, like, filling them in based on, like, not really based on anything. It was just so that I could see where the different sections of color were. So I knew that if 2 things were different colors, I knew that they were separate. Or at least in separate sections. And then possibly separate layers. But for some reason, it didn't occur to me to just make it like, oh, but if I do it where, like, everything in the same layer is the same value of gray, then it makes it so I know what's in what layer, and I don't have to hunt them down. It took me 6 of these to come up with that. So here I am filling in colors. I knew this one was going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass, because the colors are just so drastically different from one another. It didn't occur to me until now that it's kind of like the bi flag in the sense that I've got pink, purple, and blue, but they're still different enough that they don't quite blend well with each other. And having white and then the dark gray, you know, the off black, it was like, oh, I'm working with a lot of colors here. So trying to balance it out was a little bit tricky. Similarly to, like, the lesbian flag, that drawing gave me so much trouble for no reason. But I managed to get through this one pretty quickly. This didn't take me nearly as long to, like, figure out. Like, I didn't have to go through, like, a bunch of different options to figure out, like, yeah, this works for what I want. I got through this one very quickly, even if it was still 2.5 hours. It didn't take nearly as much back and forth. So I got through this one pretty quick. I decided to keep his hair dark on this one, just because I liked the idea of having a more natural hair color, because I like to go crazy, so I decided to keep this one a little tamer, especially since the colors are so vibrant. Coloring the line art was kind of annoying, but not nearly as annoying as the lesbian flag one. That one was definitely the most difficult. That one gave me the most grief. But yeah, this one was this was fun. Oh yeah, and then you can see that for all of the teardrops in the design, except for the one on his face, they're all blue because water. But yeah, overall, this one came out pretty okay. This one was a pretty fun process. Oh my god. There's my phone again. Lord have mercy. I swear, people do not really talk to me. It's just when I want to use my mic that all of a sudden I want to be relevant. But yeah, here's this one completely done. Bruh. So anyway, here are the three next to each other. These don't look nearly as cohesive next to each other as the first batch do, but that's to be expected when you're working with such drastically different flags. But I'd say I'm pretty happy with them. I do like that these feel a little different in theme. I was kind of worried at first that I was going to end up with designs that all kind of look the same because they were all magical girl themed, but this one was fun to kind of change things up a little bit. Will I do a third batch? Who knows? We'll have to see how long it even takes me just to edit this one. I tried to edit this one so that it would be at least a little bit shorter because, oh boy, I don't mind longer videos, but I know other people do. So I tried to make this one as short as I could. But yeah, hope you liked watching these sped up very quickly. I feel like because these also had less colors to work with, it was also just easier to speed them up. Like, the process was just shorter. I mean, considering that some of these went over 3 hours to do, like, only having like 2.5 hours to speed up, I think that these videos are like these clips that I recorded were just shorter in general. But yeah, hope you liked watching it. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll do a third batch, who knows. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you around. Take care, stay safe.